for coming tonight. My name is Robin. I do the adult programming here at the library. So glad to see you guys here. This is wonderful. So I'm going to talk about a few things that we do at the library besides having our local author here talking to us. So we have a class called Jerry Fit, and this is a senior chair fitness class. And we do that every Monday and Friday at 1 o'clock p.m. except for President's Day this month. We are not open, so we will not be having Jerry Fit that day. But we are having our adult winter read right now. You can read whatever you want, listen to whatever you want, and all you do is when you do 60 minutes of reading, you check it off. And every 60 minutes of reading gets you a ticket into the final prize drawing. So you can either do it by paper. We have stuff right next to our winter tree. It's no longer a Christmas tree, it's our winter tree because we're into winter. And so on the study cubicles there, if you want to do it by paper, we do have some paper worksheets for adults. We also have some for kids in the kids section and some for teens, I believe at the front desk, I think, or in the teen section too. So with that, we are also trying to beat the blues this winter, although it's been so lovely lately. I don't know, I think we beat the blues today. But anyways, every week I have a different type of book out there. So right now it's do some sort of craft or artwork. And so we've got origami hearts you can make. You can take those home with you. There's instructions on how to do it. Next week, we're going to be doing exercising and getting a little fit. So we'll have books out there and videos out there on that. So we'll have a lot of fun things to do. This ends February 28th at 5 o'clock p.m. So we need to have all your stuff in by then. And then we will tally it up and we'll pick to see who is the winner of the final prize drawings. So we also have March 6th. At 7 o'clock p.m., that's a Friday night, we have Laura Keys from Historic Voices here, and she is doing a program called The Founding Mothers. So she is going to talk about those women during the Revolutionary War who were soldiers, writers, printers, scholars, farmers, artists, and yes, spies. So she's going to be talking about all those women that did all that different type of work during the Revolutionary War. That's March 6th at 7 o'clock p.m. Our book discussion, we have one for adults every single month. So the one that we are discussing March 9th at 6 o'clock p.m. is The Antidote by Karen Russell. This one is full of so many different genres, and one of those is historical fiction. It's set during the Dust Bowl in Nebraska, town in Nebraska. It also has some fantasy realism in it, like a talking scarecrow and a wind witch and stuff like that, which sounds a lot like the Wizard of Oz, but set in the Dust Bowl. Anyways, we'll be discussing that March 9th at 6 o'clock p.m. If you're interested in a book, we have some to check out. You can also become a citizen archivist. So we are going to set up some laptop computers in the round room if you want. We're going to take a look at colonial cookbooks, and we are going to transcribe the colonial cookbooks. What that means is we're just typing it out, and these are coming from the Library of Congress. They have them already imaged on the computer, where we take an image and we type it out so that it's easy to search for any researcher, any person like you. If you want to go to the Library of Congress and you want to research ox tongue stew, you're going to get a whole bunch of different recipes for that, just in case you want to make that. Anyways, that is March 16th at 6 o'clock p.m. We'll teach you how to do it. It's fairly easy. We got a grant for the PBS American Revolution grant. We are one of other libraries in Iowa who received this grant, so it's kind of neat. And we are doing a special screening reel for the American Revolution by Ken Burns. And with that, we are going to talk about voices and visions. This reel is only going to be like a 30-minute reel that we'll see. And then we'll talk about those voices and visions during the Revolution era, which includes the art, the music, and the literature from that time period that inspired the people of the Revolution. So that's March 30th at 6 o'clock p.m. All right, guys. I'm done. Woo. So now it's time for Ayaan. And Ayaan here is our local author. I'm so excited. I read her book. It is wonderful. And she's going to tell you about her journey here, coming from Somalia and then coming here to the U.S. at age 5, and the rest of her journey through her life. So we have Ayaan here.
Thank you, Robin. I want to say thank you to the library for hosting this, to SMU for being here, and all of you guys. What an amazing turnout. So thank you so much it just warms my heart. You want to come and listen to what I have to say, which blows my mind. But thank you so much. I know it takes courage to hear some stories, and this is a tender one, so thank you for your time. So as you know, my name is Ayaan Thomas, and I wrote a book. I'm still literally pinching myself because, yeah, God did a thing. So I would love to tell you a little bit about it. I want to tell you this is not a lecture, this is more like a conversation. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask throughout this whole talk, but also know I'll leave some time at the end for some question and answer. Okay, so how did this book come about? There's so many ways. How do you conclude to start to begin a book? So for me, it started, I was in my 20s, and I started going to Bible studies. And anytime that I got courageous enough to actually talk and say something and share a little bit of my story, there was a lot of women that were like, oh, you want to do that? Like, wow. And were encouraging to tell me things like, you should write a book. You should write a book. And I'm like, whatever. So in sharing my story, I started to realize that that parts of my story resonated with a lot of these women. And I realized that, I wasn't alone in the struggles that I was going through, which was sad, but also comforting. So their whole, response went from, you should write a book to you need to write a book. And I was like, what are they seeing that I am just not seeing? It's a story. There's so many other things that have happened in other people's lives. People have gone through so much more, but they were very encouraging in my story. So my husband and I went to Ethiopia in 2013, and this one God was really seeking me to tell my story. So we went to Ethiopia, and on this mission trip, we all had to give a devotion every morning. And I secretly had a huge, big ask for God. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell Ben. By the way, Ben's over there. That's my husband. And I just asked God secretly, God, if you want me to write this book, then please have everybody on this trip tell me that I need to write a book, right? Call me Gideon. So I told my testimony, I told a little bit about my story, and then I ended up, half of the people ended up telling me that day at breakfast, you should write a book, you should write a book, you need to write a book. And I was like, oh, okay. And then throughout the day, the rest of them would tell me. So that evening, we were at a hotel, Ben was taking a shower, and I was just kind of journaling and thinking about the day, and I was like, man, oh, that one lady, she didn't tell me, God. She didn't talk to me. She didn't tell me. And as soon as I had that thought, there was a knock on the door. And it was that lady. And she grabbed my little face and she goes, baby girl, birth that book. Okay, God. I hear you. But he's still working on me. On that same trip, we were to give some encouragements to this Ethiopian church. And I can tell you, I remember what God wanted me to say, but I was too scared, too coward to say what he wanted me to say. So instead, I think I pulled something off of my Beth Moore Bible study that I was reading that time, and I can't even remember what it was, but I still remember to this day what he wanted me to say. So I didn't say it, and I just felt this piercing in my heart, and I sat down, and I just started crying, because I was like, oh, I didn't listen to you, God, and I knew that it pierced his heart, and it pierced my heart. And so then, the guy who was taking over for the CEO position of this organization that we're going with, ended up saying the same exact thing that I was going to say, and I was like, what? So in that moment, I cried even more. It was a hot mess that trip. And so, but God was telling me, if you do not use your voice to speak the things that I have told you, I will use somebody else. And that was really piercing for me, and I did not want to be in this situation again. So, God had my yes, but, and that's all he really wants is our big yes to follow him, right? So it took me a while. I got back to the States after that, and I wrote my outline. So I started with an outline, which was a huge accomplishment for me. Like, yay. But it was also a lot going on at that time of our life because we were adopting our daughter, we were going through all the paperwork, and if you've ever been through an adoption, it is a lot of work, paperwork. Plus, my husband served 20 years in the Air Force, and we were, at that time, moving from Washington to Germany, so we had we moved a lot. So it took me some years to complete this book because I really felt like God couldn't use me. I felt like, why does my story matter? You know? And why was I afraid? One word, fear. Fear of facing my past, fear of the hurt, the abandonment, the rejection, the shame, the guilt, the anger, the unanswered questions, the loss of innocence, fear of what my messy past would bring up. So I think that sometimes my lack of motivation looked like no action, but it looked like, stubbornness, like I wasn't doing anything. But on the inside, God was working on me. And let me tell you, God is a patient God. There are times that I resisted writing at all because I didn't think that my story mattered. The more I tried to ignore the words, the more they insisted on being written. So this book was not, it was birthed, so to speak. It's told from lived stories, my lived experience, out of moments where I felt like faith and doubt sat side by side. Where hope didn't feel strong, but it was still there, quiet and persistent. And I didn't really write to impress anyone. I actually started writing, honestly, because for healing, and I needed it. And then slowly I felt like a sense that others needed it too. So why? Why did I write this book? One, because God was very clear that I needed to write this book, and he spoke to me in such a personal way that I couldn't ignore it. So even though I didn't know what he would do with it just yet, I wrote for healing. And I wrote for, as I wrote, I was also encouraged in it. So writing gave me a perspective that I needed to, like looking back, sometimes when you write and you look back and you're like, oh, wow, kind of hindsight's 20, right? And I didn't write from a place of having it all together or all figured out at all, because I didn't, and guess what? I still do not. But I just felt like silence was not an option anymore. I also wrote for those that feel unheard, unseen, and unsure how to hold faith and pain together. I didn't, and I still don't have it figured out. But God knows that He knows your pain, and he meets you right in the middle of all of it. I also wrote for those who need to know that they matter, that your story matters, no matter what this world tries to tell you. And lastly, because I know that I truly believe that God doesn't want to be just talked about, but he wants to be personally known. So to call people to Christ, who is the only one who holds our future and our hope. So why this title, Into My Mother's Hands? A title tells a lot about a book, and I'd like to tell you why I chose this one, but in telling you that, I will tell you two stories from my book, and one is my birth story. So I was born in Somalia. My mother was pregnant with me, and I was the result of an affair. And so in those times, especially in the Muslim culture, if you step out of your marriage, the woman, mainly, the woman, is either shunned, disowned, she's either killed. Pretty much that's like the two options. So she's shunned or she's killed. So she looked everywhere to hide her shame, which was me. And she also looked everywhere to get an abortion. So she tried many times, many places to go and get this abortion done, but God closed all doors. Spoiler alert, I'm still here. So God knew he had plans for me, but the enemy was trying to take me out before I even got into this world. And so my mom, my birth mom, found a school on midwifery where her friend was actually going. So her friend was learning how to be a midwife, which is they help with birth, all of that stuff. And so she called her friend and said, hey, can you just do this abortion kind of under the table? And her friend said, no, why don't you come to the boarding house, have this baby, and then we'll figure out where this child's going to go. So that was kind of my mom's only option. I really don't know what she told her family or what all, that whole backstory, but I know that she did go, and she was at this boarding house. So the woman who started this boarding house had recognized that there's so many women and children dying in childbirth, so she decided to do something about it and opened this, or started this, this boarding house. She was a doctor, she's a South African woman, and she worked for the United Nations, so that's kind of what she was doing. So she's the one who actually delivered me, and she's delivered thousands of babies, and countless babies. But for some reason, when she delivered me, she said, this is my child. So I literally went from my mother's womb into my mother's hands. So that's how the title came about. And so I stayed in Somalia for about 5 years. And what tore my family apart was, so my adopted mom kept in touch with my biological mom, and she would come and see me from time to time. But it was more of a hidden thing. Like, oh, I'm going to go visit a friend, and she'd come see me. Because the family still didn't know about me or anything. So when we were leaving Somalia, I was 5, and there was a whole lot of things that's in here, but a war tore us apart, and so that's how we ended up separating. Also, the story of how we reunited is pretty amazing. It's a God thing, so I'll let you find that out. So, what's my next story? Oh, how I came to know who Jesus is. So I stayed in Somalia for 5 years, like I said, and then we moved to England. So I was there for 3 years, and then I moved to America when I was 8. So in New York City is like my hometown, and Iowa is very different. But I grew up in New York, and when my mom and I came from London, we were supposed to, her brother, sister-in-law, and there were 4 kids were supposed to have moved out. So they were staying in the 2-bedroom apartment while my mom was gone overseas to work. They were supposed to have left there so that my mom and I can have that apartment. They did not. So it was 8 of us in a 2-bedroom New York City apartment, and it was crammed for sure. So about the age of 9, I had one male cousin, and he was like my best friend at that time. And he taught me how to ride a bike. We played basketball together. He really just won my trust and built a trust in me until he broke it that one day when he started molesting me. I was 9 years old when he started molesting me, and my cousins, his sisters, knew about it because we were all in one room. So how they didn't say anything is beyond me. But so anyway, that happened, and so I would do everything I could to get out of the house. So I played sports, basketball, volleyball, anything. You guys, I fenced 1 year. Do you guys know fencing? I'd do anything to get out of the house. So I ended up, just staying out as much as possible. Actually, the library was my biggest refuge because I would stay there and hang out at my local library until I knew it was safe to go back home. So I would do homework, I would read, I would just write, I would do whatever, but I just stayed out of the house. So, anyway, my friend was like, hey, do you want to come with me and sing in this choir? And I'm like, well, what is a choir? And she goes, oh, you know where they sing at church? And I'm like, well, what is church? So I'm 12 years old at this time, and I had no idea what church is because Jesus was never mentioned at our home. In fact, I grew up in a home where they still did animal sacrifices, where they would drink the blood, where they would burn incense, and they would say chants. And I never drank the blood, I never ate the meat, and I never said the chants that they would say. And so later on, looking back at it, I realized, man, that was really big protection for me. But that's just the kind of household that I grew up in. How they slaughtered in New York City, I don't know. How do you get a goat up to the 11th floor? I don't know. So anyway, so I was at church, and I would go there with my friend, and my mom let me go, but everyone else stayed at home. And there's this one time they were talking about this Jesus guy coming. So I asked my choir director, are we going to sing like a special piece for Jesus? And he's like, what? I go, I want to like sound good. So when he comes and talks, like I want us to sound good. He's like, do you not know who Jesus is? And I was like, have I met him? Did he talk? I had no clue who Jesus was. And he was like, what? So he and his wife pulled me into the office, and they explained to me who Jesus is. That he was fully man and fully God, that he walked this earth perfectly without sin, that he died for my sins, which I found out I was a sinner that day, and I'm like, me? And that he took my place on the cross. It should have been me, but he took my place on that cross, and that he rose and he conquered death. He defeated death. And so they asked me that day, do you want to accept Jesus into your heart? Actually, before that, they said, you know, Jesus can take your burdens. And I was like, what? I don't understand what that meant. Because how can I can understand someone taking like a heavy bag from me, but how does one hand over burdens? How do you take my burdens? I didn't understand that concept. So then he said, do you want to accept Jesus into your heart? And I'm like, I don't want anyone near me. Like, I didn't know what that meant. I wasn't sure what the vernacular was. I just did not. I said, no, I'm good. And so he said, well, prayer is just talking to God. And you can talk to God anytime you want. So up in my bunk that night, I said, okay, God, if you are who they say you are, then make him stop hurting me. And so about 3 days later, I was home, and my mom made me be home, and she was like, you have to do some chores. And I'm like, okay. So I was sweeping, and I heard the door keys turning. So I went and I hid behind my mom's piano and was just frozen, because there's been many times where he's been home and, you know. But when I peeked out, it was my mom. And she never comes home early. Like, she was always coming home a lot later. So I just lost it and started crying. And she was like, what happened? And so I told her everything that had happened. And she cried with me. And she was what I needed in that moment. And then my cousin came in. And she took that broom that I was sweeping with and beat him. That's her nephew, you know. I mean, I'm sure it was hard for her as well, but she kicked her brother, her sister-in-law, and their 4 kids out that day. So that's what I needed in the moment. I didn't know how all it would happen, but I remember that night in my bunk, I shot straight up and I said, God, you heard me, and you see me, and you did something about it. So I was 12 years old when I dedicated my life to God, and there was no altar call, there was no soft music. It was just me and my snotty mess in tears up in my bunk bed. But ever since then, I've been walking with Jesus, and haven't been doing it perfectly, but he's been guiding me all along. So. so much. All right, so I'm going to open it up to question and answers. Or questions. I will answer. Any questions about my journey or the book, or what would you like to know? Yes. Dick McCord.
How long did it take you to write the book from beginning to end? I know you procrastinated.
Oh gosh. 13 years. Yep. 13 years, because I think mainly, even though other people, especially my husband, my in-laws, other friends, could see more in me than I saw in myself. And so until you really want it for yourself, you can't want it for someone else that way. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I saw the impact it had on other people, and so I said, okay, I'm going to let you use me, God. And look at this. This is incredible. Someone had a question right over here. Yes.
I don't remember how you met Ben.
Oh, that's a good story. Well, we met in the Air Force. We were both stationed at Langley. I only did 4 years. And we met through some mutual friends. Yeah. We were actually, no, we did not. We hung out with some mutual friends, but we met at this thing called FTAC, which is First Term Airman Center. So every time new airmen come in, they have like a 2-week program where it's kind of rotating, and they teach you everything about, like, you know, all the things on base, all the rules, regulations, all that stuff, and also how to, you know, stay away from car salesmen, or just because we're young kids, and so people are going to prey on us. So,
We're going to chat about that.
What did he say?
Car salesman.
Sorry.
I get emails on you.
I still love you. So yeah, we actually met then, and then we had some mutual friends I went through basic training with in tech school, and he did too, so we just kind of hung out together, and then he asked me out to lunch one day. I was still actually dating someone else. Broke up with him, and Ben and I shortly started dating after, and it's been, yeah, it's been amazing.
Perfect.
We'll be married 19 years next month. Yes.
My turn. My question is, are you in contact, or is your birth mother and your adoptive mother still alive, and do they have any idea about you right now?
Okay, that's a good question. She asked if my birth mother and my adoptive mom were still alive, and if they have any idea of this book and what's going on. Yes, they are both still alive, and yes, they both have a copy of the book. I sent it to them. Yep. My adopted mom is in New York City, and she will be 100 in May. Oh. Yeah. So if you can imagine, when she adopted me, she was in her 60s. So, yeah. And then my biological mom is in Maine. Yeah. Yep. Hey, Jeff, you had a question back there?
Curious if you could share a little more about your adopted mom.
About my adopted mom? Oh man, she's incredible. So she was born in Somalia. She had 13 siblings, 11 girls. No, thank you. One's good for me. 11 girls, and then their parents thought, you know, we really want a boy, so they adopted their boy. And then her mom got pregnant one more time, and it was a boy. So then mom was the youngest girl, and she ended up educating herself in South Africa. She went to England and got educated there, and then came to America. This is a really fun story. So, incredible story. She was on the plane with this lady that from London to New York City, and she had no clue what she was going to do. She said she had 57 cents in her pocket when she left London, and she had no idea where she was going to stay, what she was going to do. So she ended up just talking to this lady. Her and this lady became, you know, cordial or whatever. They got to New York and the lady said, "Do you have anywhere you're going?" And my mom was like, "No." She's like, "You want to come stay with me?" And she goes, "Sure." So she ends up staying with her for a while. The lady ended up giving the apartment to my mom. The lady ended up passing away. And that's the same apartment I grew up in. So, pretty cool. She's an amazing woman. Yeah.
In her career at the UN, right?
Yeah, she worked, so she worked at the UN, but she was working a lot of like small hospitals, delivering babies, teaching. She worked at Cambridge University when we were in England. She taught midwifery there for a while. Yeah, very, very courageous woman. She's been through a lot, like a coup. I wish she wrote a book. She would have an incredible book. So, yeah, but she doesn't know who Christ is, so I still keep praying because there's still time. So, yeah. Any other questions? I saw somebody here earlier. Did you have a question, Rochelle?
Yep, he asked, or someone asked
Oh.
already. I wanted to know how you...
Yep.
Did you have biological brothers and sisters?
I do. So I have an older biological brother, an older biological sister, then it's me, and then it's 2 younger sisters. I am typical middle child. But none of us actually grew up together. And my older brother was killed before I even left Somalia in that time frame. Yeah. And you'll find out a little bit more about what I learned about my siblings and what I thought. I thought they all lived together and they all had this happy, life and everything, but that wasn't so. And yeah, it was interesting to find that out and sit with that.
Okay, so God put a calling on your heart to do the book. It took you how many life experiences and how many years to do it? But you persevered. You're here.
Yes.
What advice would you have for other people who maybe feel like they're stalled out or life is getting in the way to keep going with that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say, just like the last words that you said, to keep going. Sometimes we don't see what God is doing, and you're like, oh, I would write in my journal, I would write little notes somewhere, because I'm like, oh, I got a prompting to write something, and you just never know how God is going to use it. So just to keep on writing, 1, because it's healing, and 2, it's a form of mental health too, to get all of that that's swarming around in your head on paper or on the computer. But I think praying a lot and asking God for direction of like, what do you want me to do with this? And then 2, asking some people that you really trust, saying, what do you think I should do with this? Or what direction do you see this going in? But to keep pursuing it. Does that answer your question?
What was your biggest healing moment in writing your book?
Oh boy. In writing it or like experience healing? Either. Well, I'm going to give away a lot of it. No, one experience I would say was one with my husband on a mountaintop.
Okay.
That was probably the biggest healing, where I was able to talk to him about some things that I was hiding really for 7 years. And I was blocking that healing because I know God, He doesn't want anything in between husband and wife. I told him a lot about my younger years, but I didn't tell him about some big stuff that happened later, which is also in the book. And so just fear of like, what is he going to say? What is he going to think? Is he going to still love me the same? Like all of those what ifs, And so I kind of shied away from telling him, but we went on a retreat, and it was on that mountaintop that I got to tell him, and he was amazing. So I just, I'm gonna cry. But it was that, and some things happened, and I don't want to give too much away, but it was definitely a moment of freedom, being set free. And a lot of times we think that it's got to be this big hoopla, whatever. breaking chains is hard, but it is using your voice to just speak and talk to the other person that you love and speak things out. The enemy likes to hold us captive because he holds our tongue, and when we don't talk about these things, then it builds up, you know, and it explodes sometimes in different ways, either physically or emotionally, and so yeah, talking is huge for our healing. Healing comes from releasing, really.
So you have done some counseling of other women, is that true? Or you have done some letting them talk to you
Yes.
about their issues?
Yes.
Did that come after you were able
To write?
to talk, you know, to let your own stuff out, or was
Um,
that something that was,
I think it was more tandem.
okay.
So as I spoke, then they were able to share their stories as well. And then it let me be more of a listener. I think sometimes when we're vulnerable with somebody, especially if you see them hurting and you kind of have an idea maybe of what's going on, so you share with them a little bit of your story, and then they're able to feel comfortable to share too. So that was a lot of it. Yeah.
Do you see yourself writing a second book?
I have thought about it. I just don't know what that looks like right now. So, yeah, I really have thought about maybe, you know, focusing more on specific big topics. But we'll see.
Sure.
If the Lord leads me to, then yeah. Yes. The same question.
Everybody in this room, I have to tell you.
Everyone's gonna push you. No more 13 years.
I know, that was a long time. Yep. But, you know, coming here, sometimes there's a lot of people that, you know, they encourage you and they, you know, they see more in you than what you see in yourself. And I couldn't let today go past without saying thank you to Diana Coppin, because she saw a lot in me too, and she spent the time to sit with me, to review it, so she got to read it before you guys, and to help me edit and all of that. So I just thank you. And she's also a local author, but thank you so much, because that's meant so much to me over the years. So.
Anything else? Okay, well, she's got books. So if you want to come, I think.
Oh, I was gonna say really quick.
Okay, go ahead.
I've got a few more things, and then we can end. Sorry, so yeah, I do want to give you some big takeaways really quick. So a few takeaways that I do have is, if you leave with nothing else here tonight, please know that your story matters. The good, the hard, the questions, the suffering, the wrestling, the ache, the grief, the highs, the low, all of it matters. So also, as you read this book, it's might stir up some things in you that you maybe have been stuffing. So I just encourage you guys to talk to a friend, get a therapist, but don't hold it in. Talk to somebody. Also, you know, seeking God doesn't, it's not about having it all figured out. It's not about doing it right. It's about being willing. So I can confidently say that, yes, it took me 13 years, but I am willing to do what God wants me to do through this book, and so really, really excited. I would love for you guys to purchase, but also to share it with a friend, a teen, a neighbor, a friend, a family member, whoever, not just by word of mouth, but like on social media as well. I actually started a new Facebook page, which is my author page. So click on there and like it, share it, all that stuff. Stay engaged in it, because that's how other readers get to see it. Also, reviews are really, 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 really big for an author and for other readers. So I would ask kindly if you can do a review. either on the publisher's website, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble's, and honestly, you can like copy and paste and do it to all. But also the Facebook page has a review section, so if you want to write a little blurb on there, that would be super, super helpful. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your help in that. The goal is to simply just reach more readers. Again, a huge thank you to everybody, but I would love to end this session, this talk, the way that I ended my book, and I would love to pray for you. So, let's pray. God, thank you for everyone in this room tonight. Lord, I thank you because your word tells us that you know the plans you have for us, plans to prosper us and not to harm us, plans to give us a hope and a future. Lord, you see every life here, every joy, every sorrow, every prayer that has been whispered, and everyone that has been held in silence. Your word says, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those crushed in spirit. So tonight, Lord, I pray that you would meet each heart exactly where they are, not where they think they should be, but right where they stand today. For those who are weary, you promise, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. For those who feel discouraged, remind them that those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. For those who have been praying and waiting, help them not to lose heart, knowing that faithful is he who calls you. Lord, I pray that you would bless this library. And your word says that the unfolding of your words give light. Let this be a place of light, a place of peace, of learning and refuge. Bless every person who walks through these doors now and in the future. Father God, I lift up our community of Spencer to you. Where there has been loss, bring comfort, because you are close to those who mourn. Where there has been rebuilding, bring strength. Where hearts feel tired, remind them that your mercies are new every morning. And God, remind us tonight that you are able. You are able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to your power that is at work within us. Help us to keep praying. Help us not to lose hope. And help us to trust you, even when we cannot see our way forward. Thank you that you are a good God, that you are near, that you are faithful, and you are not finished yet. In Jesus' mighty and powerful name I pray. Amen.
Thank you.